swear it's a pleasure, a treat, and trust me, you'll enjoy it to hear Rabbi Glatstein giving Torah, the cover, the receiver, and the glad speech later.
This Torah Center, which is really the center of Jewish life here in Upper West Side, Rishus Chash B'Rabbanim, the Prager, Didi, Rabbi Simon Shlita, and of course the Marda Asra. It's a real honor to be representing the shul this evening, to be representing a kehillah that's founded by the illustrious Prager Rav. You know, it's interesting, I just heard, and I just realized, about a year and a half ago, I remembered a story that I heard many, many years ago. And I tried to verify it. It's a story about Mashkiach, Matisyahu Soloman Zecher Tzadik Livracha. The story did not appear in print. It's not recorded anywhere. Nobody seemed to know anything about it. And I was sure that Rabbi Matisyahu Soloman said the story when he was inaugurated in the Lakewood Yeshiva. So I called up the Talmud Notebook of Rabbi Matisyahu. I said, did Rabbi Matisyahu say this story? He said, no. He said, I was there when Rabbi Matisyahu was inaugurated. He didn't say the story. I said, I'm positive he said the story. I said, who can I ask? He said, I don't know, call up his son-in-law. So I said, give me the son-in-law's number. I called up the oldest son-in-law, Rabbi Matisyahu Soloman. He said, it sounds vaguely familiar. Call my younger brother-in-law. Call Winder. So I called the youngest son-in-law, Rabbi Matisyahu Soloman. He said, yes. Rabbi Matisyahu said the story. When he was honored by the Lakewood Yeshiva about 15 years ago, Lakewood had a dinner at the Brooklyn Marriott, and they were honoring Rabbi Matisyahu Soloman. And the Mashkiach gets up and he says, I want you to know tonight, he turned the whole thing on its head. They're not honoring me. You're honoring my mother. What are you talking about? He said in 1941, Rav Aaron Cutler, his yeshiva in Kletsk had to move to Vilna. And then the Vorhand, the Rav's father was one of the leader of the Vorhand. The Vorhand had a plan to rescue Rav Aaron Cutler from the clutches of the Nazis, and the plan was either via England or the United States of America. And they needed a volunteer in England to sit in a secured bunker on a designated evening by the phone for 24 hours. Maybe a call would come in to rescue Rav Aaron Cutler. And it turned out to be a Friday night. And they needed someone potentially to be Mechalel Shabbos, to sit by the phone on a Friday night. Maybe the call would come in to rescue Rav Aaron Cutler. And a young girl named Ethel Solomon volunteered to sit at the phone in a secured bunker like Miriam Hanaviyah. She sat by the phone, maybe to save the life of Rav Aaron Cutler. And 70 years later, Matisyahu got up and he said, I am sure that the reason why he was zoichet to become the Mashkiach of the Lakewood Yeshiva is in the merit of the Mesiras Nefesh of his mother, who, like Miriam Hanaviyah, friends, we don't understand the elevation, the aliyah that we have when we express concern, when we show heart for another Jew. You know, I have the opportunity a few times a year to lead a Jewish heritage trip to various places in Europe and other places in the world. I thank my good friend Zev Brenner for Thank you, Rabbi Glatstein, for connecting me this evening. And we went on a particular trip, we went to Morocco last year. It was Parshas Vayechi, and they bring along the Sefer Torah. The Sefer Torah is like a mezuzah. It's a tiny Sefer Torah. And everybody knows that there's an unusual phenomenon in Parshas Vayechi. Rashi says, Lama Parshas is Suma. Parshas Vayechi it's a sealed parsha. Typically, between the end of one parsha and the beginning of another parsha, you have a few spaces. The beginning of Vayechi is Suma Legamri. And the Baal Koreh could pashut, he could not tell the difference between the end of Vayigash and the beginning of Vayechi. And we're all familiar with the words of Rashi, Lama Parshas is Suma. Rashi says, when Yaakov Avinu, when Yaakov Avinu passed away, Nistamu Einehem V'Liban Shel Yisrael. The eyes and the heart of the Jewish people were sealed shut, and they Tzaras Hashivon, because of the bondage. You know, we sort of take the words of Rashi for granted, that the eyes and the heart of the Jewish people were sealed shut. Why does Rashi say that? Why does Rashi say that our eyes and our heart were sealed shut? Rashi should simply say, we were brutalized, we were tormented, we were tortured. Why the emphasis on the eyes and the heart? And I believe the Rebbeinu Shalom sent me a Matanim and Hashamayim. Why Rashi emphasizes the eyes and the heart? Because we come to this week's parsha, and we're all familiar with the famous pasuk, Vayigdal Moshe, Vayiksei Alechav, Vayar b'Sivloisam. Let's review the simple words of Rashi, because they're treasures laden in the simple words of Rashi. What does Rashi say on the pasuk? Vayigdal Moshe, Vayiksei Alechav. Says Rashi, Nasan Einov V'Liboy Lios Meitzar Alehem. Moshe Rabbeinu placed his heart and his eyes to feel the pain of the Jewish people. Now we know why you need eyes. Now we know why you need a heart. You need eyes to be able to see the pain of another Jew. You need a heart to be able to feel the pain of another Jew. So when Rashi says in Mitzrayim that our eyes and our heart were sealed shut, Rashi doesn't just mean we were in pain. Rashi means that we were so overwhelmed with our personal difficulty that we didn't have the emotional wherewithal to climb out of our personal distress and see what someone else is going through and feel someone else's pain. And you know what, friends? We all know how it is in life. We know how it is when we have our own sorrow, our own difficulty. It's very hard to even look or think about somebody else. And that's a very big problem, because that gets us into a very difficult cycle. Because if we don't have the wherewithal to see the pain of another Jew, and we don't have the wherewithal to feel the pain of another Jew, then God deals with us Middah Keneged Middah. The Rebbeinu Shalom deals with us quid pro quo, measure for measure. And then Kiviyachal, the eye of heaven, says, well, I don't see your pain. And the big lave of Shamayim also says, I can't really feel your pain. Because if you can't see and feel the pain of someone else, then the Rebbeinu Shalom deals with us the same way. And then as they say, Houston, we've got a problem. Because how are we ever going to get out of this mess? So comes Rabban U'Moshiach Shel Yisrael. Comes the Raya Mehemna, and the Rebbeinu Shalom is waiting for someone to break the cycle. And what does Moshe Rabbeinu do? Vayar esivloisam. Nosan eino v'liboy lios meitzar aleim. Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm going to break the cycle. So Moshe Rabbeinu opens up his eye. Moshe Rabbeinu opens up his heart. And then the Rebbeinu Shalom says, I've been waiting for somebody to do this for a very long time. Because when you open up your eye, and you open up your heart, then the Rebbeinu Shalom responds in kind. And the Rebbeinu Shalom looks down from Shamayim and he sees acutely what we're going through. And the Rebbeinu Shalom feels our pain very sharply. Friends, Ure'ei Zeh Pele, a few psukim later, listen to this. Vayar Elokim es b'nei Yisrael, Vayeda Elokim, Zok Rashi, Nasan Aleihem Lev, V'lo ha'elamina. A Pele, simple Rashi. The Rebbeinu Shalom says that's all it took. I just needed one man to open up his eye to look at another Jew. I needed one person to feel the pain of another Jew. And the Rebbeinu Shalom immediately responded in kind. Nasan aleihem leiv v'loy ha'elem einav. You know, there's a big movement today, and it's a very important movement. Shmiras ha'inayim. A Jew has to be very careful what they look at. A Jew has to make sure they only see proper images. But at the same time, you have to have your eyes open. What's the person next to me going through? What's he feeling? Can I make him more comfortable? Can I help him with something? Can I help her with something? Do they need help with their children, with their family, with their shidduch? Looking out, feeling what other people are going through. Marv Rabbi Sai in this week's parsha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the Shalom Aleichem to Moshe Rabbeinu. Did you know that until Parsha Shemais, the Rebbeinu Shalom never communicated with Moshe? And all of a sudden, the Rebbeinu Shalom comes to Moshe, Vayera Elav Mitoich HaSneh. Says Rashi, why a sneh? Hashem tells Moshe, Shalom Aleichem. Do you know who I am? Hashem could have said many things. He could have said, I'm Shakai, I'm Tzvakos, I'm Alekim. The Rebbeinu Shalom has many names. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, Moshe Shalom Aleichem. The name is Imay Anoichi B'Tzara. That was the intro of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Moshe Rabbeinu. Why is this the first message Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu? Because the Rebbeinu Shalom is telling Moshe how you're going to get out of the mess. You know how you're going to get out of this mess? When you feel the pain of another Jew. Because when you see and you feel, the Rebbeinu Shalom responds in kind. Comes the Mashgiach, Rabbi Matisyahu Soloman. I'm going to tell you a vart. When I hear this vart, my soul quivers. It's really a remarkable observation. Does anybody know, in Kol HaTorah Kula, is the Rebbeinu Shalom ever referred to as the one who resides in the thorn bush? Who's the Rebbeinu Shalom? Oh, the Rebbeinu Shalom. He's the one who resides in the thorn bush. Once, at the end of the Torah, to Yosef HaTzadik. The pasuk says, "Ulu Yosef Amar, Mevoreches Hashem Artzai, Mi Meged Shemayim Meyal, Umi Tahim Regetzes Tachas, Umi Meged Gerash Yerachim." Who does this bracha go to? By the way, friends, it's a big bracha. You know, the best real estate in Israel is the land of Yosef. I know you want to invest here. I'm giving you good advice tonight. The most fertile, lush real estate in the land of Israel, Rashi says, Ein lecha eretz mevoreches k'may artzoi shel Yosef. Why was Yosef zoicha to the best bracha of all the shvatim? Says the Mashgiach, there's a Balaturim. The Balaturim says twice in Tanakh we have the word Ule Yosef. One is at the end of the Torah. Ule Yosef Amar mevoreches Hashem artzoi. The other one is at the end of Bereshis. That Yosef had children before the famine. But once the famine began, Yosef says, the world is suffering, I'm not going to engage in pleasure. So Yosef had children before the famine. Says the Balaturim, why was Yosef zoicha to the greatest bracha of all the shvatim? Because Yosef was an imay anoichi b'tzara. Yosef said, if people are suffering, I'm not going to enjoy myself. Yosef felt the pain of other people. And the Rebbeinu Shalom says, I like that. That's my kind of tzaddik. That's my kind of Middah. Says the Mashgiach, Rabbi Matisyahu, you know why the Rebbeinu Shalom is called the Shoich Nisneh in the bracha to Yosef HaTzadik? Because the Rebbeinu Shalom is telling Yosef, you know why you got the bracha? You know why you hit the jackpot? You know why you want it big? Because you learned the lesson that I taught Moshe at the thorn bush. That it's important to be an Imay Anoichi B'Tzara. That's the hallmark characteristic of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the hallmark characteristic of a Jew. To feel someone else's pain. And therefore, Ule Yosef Amar, Mevoreches Hashem Artzai. Who's giving it? The Ritzoin Shoichni Sineh. You know, the Mashgiach came to Lakewood in 1997. he moved next door to a family, the Epstein family. Epstein family, they had kids the same age as Rabbi Matisyahu's kids. They grew up together, they made simchas together. They were almost like family. Rabbi Matisyahu's daughter became a kala. Everyone was excited for the wedding. They were both families, the Soloman family, the Epstein family. Everyone was going to be dancing at this wedding. Shortly before the wedding, Rabbi Epstein passed away. So now none of the family could go to the wedding. None of the Epstein girls could go to the wedding. And Rabbi Matisyahu told his family, okay, we're excited for our simcha. Nobody could say a word about the simcha in earshot of the Epsteins. It's not right. They're ba'avelos. The day of the wedding, the Epstein family comes home. There's a note on the door. To our dear family, kindly do not make dinner this evening. The caterer is going to be coming to your house to serve you the wedding meal in your house, because if you can't be at the wedding, but at least you'll be mishtatek because we're bringing the wedding to you. And then shortly after, the photographer came over, because Rabbi Matisyahu asked the photographer to develop the pictures at the time of the wedding, so that they could also feel and be mishtatek a little bit at the wedding. So this is not just an idea that the Mashgiach taught, this is an idea that the Mashgiach breathed. This is the hallmark characteristic of a Jew. But there's an even higher level. There's a higher level than feeling the pain of someone else. Because did you know that when Hashem comes to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, Moshe, I have a great job for you. Moshe says, what would you like? Hashem says, I would like you to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. So Moshe Rabbeinu Demers, he says, Shlach na biyad tishlach. What do you want from me? Give it to Aaron. Who's Aaron? Rashi says Aaron was a Navi. Moshe wasn't a Navi yet. Aaron was a Navi. Does anybody know? When did Aaron ever say Nevuah? When did he ever receive Nevuah? So Rashi brings, you look in Yecheskel, you look in Shmuel, the Rebbe Shem comes to the Beis Eli, and he says, by the way, I told your Zayda, Aaron HaKoyen, and Mitzrayim, to tell the Jews to get rid of their idolatry. So Aaron was already a Navi before Moshe. Anybody know how old Aaron was when he received prophecy? The Medrash Tanchuma says Aaron had already been a Navi for 80 years before the Rebbe Shem ever said a word to Moshe Rabbeinu. And he had received Nevuah non-stop for 80 years. So Moshe says, we never even spoke before. Why are you giving me the job? Give it to Aaron. So the question is, what did Aaron do? 80 years earlier, how old was Aaron? He was 3 years old. Aaron was a Navi from the age of 3. What did Aaron do from the age of 3? Then he was Zoycha to Nevuah. And the answer is, we only know one thing that Aaron HaKohen did. There's a very interesting pasuk that we read just this week. The pasuk says about Basya Bas Paroi, that she sees Bateres Hayeled, V'hinei nar boicha, v'tachmol alav. And they said, Miyaldei ha'ivrim zeh. So again, the Baal HaTurim is troubled. What is this kid? It starts off by saying that he's a Yeled, Bateres Hayeled, and then it says, V'hinei nar boicha, and then it says, Miyaldei, is he a Yeled, or is he a nar? So the Baal HaTurim says, we're talking about two different people here. You see, Basya Bas Paroi sees a baby. That's the Yeled. That's Moshe. Moshe wasn't the one crying. V'hinei nar boicha. Who is crying? Says the Baal HaTurim. Nar boicha is gematria zeh Aaron HaKohen. Aaron was crying. So now Basya says, let's do some detective work. The brother is crying. Must be, the Archaim HaKadosh writes in his drushes, for a brother to cry over a brother, miyaldei ha'ivrim zeh, it must be a Jewish child. Only a Jewish child could cry for his brother. You know what Aaron HaKohen did at age 3? I saw in a sefer from Rav Shlomo Arieli, the brother of Rav Arieli, Rabduni B'Tapuchim. We only know one thing that Aaron did at age 3. He's able to cry for his brother. You could cry for your brother. you have the heart necessary, you have the tools necessary for God to communicate with you. That's what Aaron HaKohen did at age 3. We're in a way, we're like Aaron HaKohen. We're standing at the riverbank. The river, we'll call it the Atlantic Ocean. And on the other side of the river, we have brothers and sisters suffering in Eretz Yisrael. Are we going to be the nar boicha at the very least, to cry, to feel the pain, to feel the tsar? You can't just go a day, just walk around like everything is okay. At the very least, you have to be able to shed a tear, to feel the pain. You know what kind of an aliyah that will bring you? But did you know that at age 3, even though Aaron HaKohen was a Navi, there's something he wasn't yet. There was something that it took him another 80 years to accomplish. Because 80 years later, Moshe Rabbeinu meets Aaron. He says, "Dear breeder, guess what? I got a promotion." So Aaron says, what's the promotion? Moshe said, "Hashem asked me to take the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim." And Aaron HaKohen mustered up the Taras Halev, that he wasn't stingy, he wasn't jealous. V'racha v'samach b'liboy. Aaron HaKohen was happy for his brother. Marv Rabbi said, do you know where that momentous achievement was accomplished? Behar ha'Elokim. That's the first mention of Har Sinai. You think it was for naught that the Rebbeinu Shalom chose Har Sinai? Whatever happened on Har Sinai? It's the makom that a brother rejoiced over the simcha of another yid. That's the place where the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to give the Torah. So what happened? Hashem says, you know, Aaron, you have such purity of heart. You are zoichet to wear the choshen on your heart. You know, 80 years earlier, Aaron HaKohen was not awarded the choshen on his heart. Why couldn't Aaron have the choshen 80 years earlier when he cried for Moshe Rabbeinu? Says Rav Shlomo Arieli, we see a very important lesson in human dynamic. It's not so hard to feel pain for another Jew. Someone's suffering, my heart goes out to you. Someone has a difficulty, what can I do to help you? It's a much higher level to rejoice in someone else's success. That's a very high madrega. Human being has a certain jealousy, a certain stinginess. I'm there to help you. My heart hurts and goes out for you. But if someone else is being honored, or someone else has a success, or someone else is having nachas from their family, it requires a very pure heart to feel unadulterated joy for someone else. You know, there's a big discussion. People like going to simchas, weddings, bar mitzvahs. What's the most important part of the simcha? Big machlokes, the kugel, the cholent. The most important part of a simcha is to feel happy for the Baal Simcha. That's why you go to a simcha. You could go to a simcha, and you tell the Baal Simcha, you know, I feel happy for you. You go to the honoree, I'm happy for you. You deserve it. You look at the guy next to you. He has a beautiful mishpacha. He has nachas from his children. He has nachas maybe from grandchildren. Feel happy for them. That's one of the highest achievements you could accomplish as a Jew in this world. So I conclude by telling you, dear friends, I am happy for you that you have such a wonderful Rav and Rebbetzin at your helm. You should enjoy them. Gesundheit, Abi Askoel Tzedek, Agatava. Thank you.